Hello guys, welcome to our class of number 11, and in our last class we had our enemies following us, and basically we can shoot at it, we can reload our weapon, and what you can see right here, what I did on the scene, I basically turned off all the ghosts that I have in the scene. Just because right now we're going to edit a little bit more in the ghost logic, and it's going to make more sense for us, to be honest, just to have only one ghost in the scene. It's going to be easier to analyze if the behavior of the ghost is working properly. So right now, yeah, maybe you have more than one ghost as I have right now in my scene. But what we are going to do, it's basically we're going to, you can delete or you can disable the ghost. But yeah, right now the ghosts are basically a companion in the game because it doesn't hit the player, it doesn't damage the player, it actually don't do anything. But if we shoot at it, we earn scores. So yeah, that's one way of earning points in the game. But we don't have any downsides to related to the ghost, and that's what we're going to change today. We want challenge in our game. So basically, what we are going to do today is to add a damage system linked to the ghost. So what I am going to do, I'm going to disable pretty much all the ghosts. I'm just gonna leave one in the scene just to be easier to see what's going on. So I disable the ghosts, and I have only one ghost right here. And you can see that it stopped after a while because you have a stop distance inside of NavMesh agent inside of it. So here goes premium. If you open NavMesh agent, you can see that its stop distance is equal to 5. So it means that it's not going to go exactly in the position of the player. It's just going to go near the player with a distance of 5. Okay, so yeah, what we are going to do today is make these ghosts damage us in order to lose health, and then if it goes to 0, probably you're going to have a game over scene later on. But that's the challenge, is to vanish ghosts before we die from them. Okay, so first of all, one thing that we need to do is to add life to the player. That's because the player doesn't have any counting of life. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open Player Manager right here, real quick. And then here in the Player Manager, I'm going to add a new text. So it's going to work very similar to a Score UI, but in here is going to be the player health or the player HP. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. It's just going to work basically in the same way. So public text, because it's going to be a text component, is going to have a text component from the canvas, and we can put like HP UI. I think that's cool. And then of course we are going to need to have a variable to save the HP of the player, and I'm just gonna make one int called HP, and it's going to be equal to 100. I think 100 is a good amount to go. And then I'm going to write a new function, because as the same way that we have add score, we need to have a add damage or decrease life, something like this. So we're going to approach the variable HP the same way that we approach score. So it's going to be pretty much the same kind of function. So public, and then probably I'm going to put like damage. I think damage is a cool, and then the variable is going to call dam from damage. And then basically HP is going to decrease by the amount of the damage. And then of course I want to update the text of the HP. So text equal to, and then I can put something like life. I don't know, you can go crazy with here. It's just important that you have the information in the screen for the player. And then I'm gonna make it plus HP. Okay, so right now we have a function. We have two variables, HP UI, that is going to be the text in the game, in the side of the canvas. We have HP variable that is going to save the amount of health that the player have. And we have one function called damage that is going to receive a damage amount, and then is going to decrease from the HP. And then it's going to update the text to life and then HP. All right, so just we continue. Of course, we need to create a new text inside of canvas, and then link this new text to the script. So here inside of Canvas, what I'm going to do just to be a little bit faster, I'm just gonna copy and paste the score. So paste, right? So pretty much the same, but I'm going to rename this one HB. And the text, of course, is going to be life. And I think we can go put our life here. All right. So in the beginning, of course, it's not going to decrease any amount of life. Oh yeah, sure. I need to link the text inside of the canvas. I don't know if I save the script. Yeah, I save it. So if I go, the script is in BitGun. So here, player manager, and HP UI, it's none because we didn't select anything. So we can go here and then select HP. And that's it. We are good to go. But the thing is, nothing is damaging the player yet. So it's not going to change any value that we have. That's what we are going to be doing next. All right. So next, how we are going to play, how I plan actually to make the monster damage the player, hunt the player. It's already following the player. That's one mechanic from the nav mesh. It's already happening inside of Ghost Manager, Ghost Movement actually. It's already happening there. So what I need to do, it's basically I'm going to calculate a distance from the ghost, from the player to the ghost, or from the ghost to the player. And then if the distance is lower than an amount enough to hit the player, then I'm going to damage the player. So I'm going to call the function damage player. All right, so let's do that. So here, I think it's on Ghost Movement. Yes, right here. So here we have this guy over here. It's basically searching for the player. So I'm going to need to have two variables. One to save the distance of the player, and the other one is going to be the distance to attack. Okay, let's go part by part and testing, so you guys can see what is going on. So I'm going to first calculate one variable, float called distance. Okay, distance can be equal to 0 in the beginning. The thing is, inside update, I will say that distance will receive, and then I'm going to use a function called distance from vector tree. This function, distance, calculate a distance in float based on our origin and a destiny. So the origin is going to be this game object transform position. So it's going to be from the position of the ghost until the position of the player. And we can pick the position of the player using the lower score, this one, transform position. So player transform position. All right, so right now our distance is being calculated every single frame, and we can see that happening. So here I'm going to wait to save. All right. Okay, so here on the Ghost Premium, you can see in the script of Ghost Movement distance. It's currently 0, but it's going to change through game. So I'm not gonna maximize so we can see the variable changing. So yeah, basically you see it's changing. It's 4. Where is the ghost? Oh yeah, it's right here. So if I try to outrun it, you can see that the distance grows bigger, but as I wait, it comes closer. It basically goes until 5.4, around 5.4, because it kind of stops based on the nav mesh component that we have there. All right, so yeah, we're going to need to have another variable, and the variable is going to be a distance to attack. So distance to attack. So it's the distance enough to the ghost attack the player, and that's pretty, how can I say, you can put any kind of value right there. It depends on your gameplay, it depends on how it goes. I would go with 6 because it doesn't actually go any closer than 4, so it won't go closer than 4 right there. So if it's 6, I guess it's a good number to be, how can I say, close enough to attack. So then we already have the distance right here. It's being calculated by the position of the ghost and the position of the player. So what I'm going to do, it's basically if the distance is lower or equal to from the distance to attack, so it means that it can attack the player, I will call the player get component. All right, get component player manager damage, and then the damage will be something like 5. All right, this one can also be a variable that can differentiate one ghost from another. So let's say that one ghost make more damage than others. I'm just gonna use a constant 5, but be aware that you can replace this 5 for any kind of variable, so you can make like a more dynamic game and make it more differences between enemies. I don't know. Just keep in mind, I'm just gonna put 5 right here, but you can pretty much put anything. All right, just don't go crazy and put very, very high numbers, because if you put high numbers, it's going to be difficult to win the game. So you need to play test the game a lot, see which one makes more sense, and then finalize choosing one that makes sense in the end. All right, so right here, I'm gonna save it, and then let's play the game. Let's see how it goes. Oop. Okay, so let me go full screen right here so you can take a look on it. Okay, so life is equals to 100. When it comes closer to us, it's too fast. All right, there is a lot of reasons of why this is too fast. One of them is, if you think about it, it's happening every single frame. My computer, we can even take a look on that. Let me allow the stats right here real quick. So if I play the game, you can see that my computer is running like 190 FPS. So it's calculating the update like something around 100 times per second. So 1 second of this ghost being close enough to attack in the player results in around, let's say, 500 damage for 1 second. So it's not fair. It's too much fast. We need to make this attack happen in a slower pace, all right? So it makes we're going to do a cooldown effect inside of the Unity. And the way that we use time inside of Unity, the way that we can say something like you can attack every 1 second or something like this, it's a little bit different because we don't have looping with time. Every looping right here happens every single frame. What we have is something called time.delta time. So time.delta time is the amount of time that it takes to go from one frame to another frame. And that's time delta time. It's different in every single computer, because let's say that I am having 100 frames per second. So probably I'm having like a 1 over 100 seconds per frame. And you may have less, you may have more. So this delta time actually vary with time. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's lower. It's just the time that it takes to go from one frame to another. But the thing is, if we decrease anything from this delta time every single frame, after 1 second, it will decrease 1. It's constant, all right? So that's the important part. If we use the time delta time, we make sure that we are counting time the same way in all computers, because it varies with the FPS. So 1 second with time delta time will be 1 second in any computer. The only thing is, if a computer have a higher FPS, it will take more FPS to pass 1 second. If you have a lower FPS, it will have less frames to go to 1 second. But the thing is, after 1 second, it counts 1 second to any computer. All right? So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that's what we are going to use to count time. And that's what most of the time we use to count time inside of the games. So I'm going to need to have more variables right here. I'm going to need to have 2 more variables. One of them is going to be the timer that is going to count the time. And the other one is going to be the cooldown timer. So just to check if it's, we can then make it happen faster, happen slower. All right, so the first one is going to be float attack timer, and it's going to be, it doesn't need to be equal to anything because we're going to set this after, later. So public float, and then attack cooldown, and then let's start with a cooldown of 1 second. All right, so when we start the game, the first thing that we're going to say is that the attack timer is going to be equal to attack cooldown. All right, and then on update, as I said before, if we decrease by time data time, I'm going to count seconds. So attack timer is going to decrease by time delta time. So basically, after 1 second, attack timer will decrease 1. All right, attack timer decrease by timer. So if I want to hit, I want my distance to be lower than the attack, and also I want the attack timer to be lower or equal to 0. If it is lower or equal to 0, then it means that it's more, it passes more than the attack cooldown timer from the last attack. So if I put 1 second, I know that at least it's been more than 1 second from the last attack. So I make sure that I can attack again. So then here I'm gonna make a damage, and then of course I'm going to reset my timer because I need it to go over and over forever. All right, I hope that makes sense. Let's take a look on how it works in the game. Okay, so see, 5 damages every single second. So it's not crazy. And then of course, I can have more. I can have faster, so let's put like half a second. I think half a second would be too much because it's gonna have more than one enemy. You see, like, so half a second, so I need to run. Oh, I'm gonna run. And then the ghost is going to get closer, and then, all right. So I'm gonna make 1 second, and just to test, I'm gonna enable then all the ghosts that is not enabled until now. So it's gonna have more ghosts. Okay, so if I play the game, I'm gonna have, oh, I shoot one. Okay, so you can see that it's way faster because there are a lot of them trying to hit me. Okay, so right now I have a problem. If I don't vanish the ghost, I will have a trouble because they are going to end up my life. All right, so yeah guys, that's it for today. And then from now on, we're going to add more stuff related to the feeling of the game. So next class, we're going to add sounds, and those sounds are going to have way more feeling to the game. And then our game is going to be very, very near to be ended. So thank you guys very much for this class. I hope you guys liked, and see you at the next class. Bye bye.